Hello, everybody.
Good evening,
How is it
everyone.
going? How is it going? How are you doing? What you got going on? What are you eating on? What you cooking?
All the
All of
above.
that. All of that good stuff. We want to know it all. We appreciate everybody coming back. We are back. We are back
We
once
are. We
again.
are.
The Super Bowl was great. Got a chance
It
to.
was alright.
It was all right. I mean,
It was alright.
our teams weren't in, but for all practical purposes, it wasn't as bad as it could have been.
No,
So
I enjoyed the halftime show. Something different, but it was not. It wasn't bad.
yeah, halftime
It wasn't
show.
bad.
Big ups to Bad Bunny. I know a lot of people in the United States didn't want him, but he did a phenomenal halftime show, and of course,
I think the young man did an
I
excellent
think it
job.
was excellent. And of course, the
It was
blowout,
pointed.
all of that.
It was pointed.
The blowout was
Yeah.
crazy, and so there's a lot of things that went on, with the Super Bowl. But again, we are glad to be back. We wanted to make sure that we stayed on track, and so we also wanted to give you guys the opportunity to be able to watch the Super Bowl and be able to share, with your family and friends and things like that. But nevertheless, we are back.
We are
His,
back, and
yeah,
if you're watching us on Facebook Live or even on YouTube, send the link to somebody. Share it on your feed.
yeah,
Get some other people to come in.
tag, share,
Comment.
comment. Especially, we really
Come
want you guys to
on.
comment. And speaking of all of that, eventually, right now, I think we're showing on the His Voice Her Vibe Facebook page. We're also showing on our YouTube channel, and we were doing both of our personal Facebook pages, but I think it's just doing mine right now. Eventually, we're going to be going away from the personal, and we want to drive all of the traffic to our actual Facebook podcast page. So, with that being said, please be on the lookout. Eventually, that's going to happen because we want to drive traffic to that channel and to that page. So, if you don't see us on our personal page, but you see that we're sending updates and when we're going to come on and everything, that's where we'll be. And a lot of you have already subscribed to that page, so you won't miss the podcast. But if you have not, His Voice, Her Vibe podcast live on
Absolutely.
Facebook. That's where we're
Absolutely.
at.
Absolutely.
Go
So what's
ahead.
our topic today? Well, I guess while he's pulling up our topic before he tells us, our disclaimer is first and foremost, we are not therapists, we aren't counselors. We're not giving you advice on your life. We are not giving medical advice or any of that. This is not a therapy session. Um, so we just want you to know that if you have a serious situation or if you're needing professional help, to make sure that you contact your local clinicians, your local hospitals, and that you seek the help that you need. Neither of us are in a position to give you any type of professional legal counsel or medical advice. We are merely here to jar conversation, to have good conversation, to invite you in the room, share our experiences with you, and for you to have the opportunity to do as well. So, without further ado, our topic for tonight is.
So our topic for tonight is, and we're still continuing on the conversations that we never had series that we've been doing. We've been getting a lot of really, really good feedback on the topics that we have discussed. But tonight we're going to be discussing growth, change, and evolving together. Subtitle or subtopic will be growing at a different speed, and so that's what we'll be talking about tonight. The challenges of being in a relationship with someone and you see that the rates of growth between you and your significant other are different. Sometimes that can be a good thing, sometimes that can be a bad thing, just kind of depending on what's going on. And so we're going to discuss that on tonight. And, we're going to take you guys' comments and everything and your questions. And we're going to dialogue and have a really good time. Absolutely.
So, in essence, growth in relationships happen when both people are willing to learn, reflect, and invest together and individually. When we're talking about in relationships, we're not just talking about romantic relationships, spousal relationships, we're talking about friendships as well. So, growth in relationships, anything ship, happens when both people are willing to learn, reflect, and invest together and individually.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I believe that to be true. And, all of the different ships, just like she mentioned, your friendships, your relationships, your
Courtships.
courtships, your work relationships, and different things like that. All of these things have the potential to be able to have, different rates of growth. And for some people, again, I think, they can look at that and they would think that that is a bad thing. But I beg to differ. I beg to differ
Well,
at times.
growth in relationship refers to the ongoing process where individuals and the relationship itself develop in healthy, meaningful ways over time. It's less about perfection and more about progress. So, some of the key dimensions of growth in relationships is personal growth within the relationship, relational growth, adaptation and change, mutual support and commitment, and having a healthy balance. So I really want to go in on that having a healthy balance, but maybe we're not there quite yet. So let's just start off with personal growth within the relationship.
Okay.
That includes increased self awareness and emotional maturity,
Yeah, absolutely.
learning to communicate needs, boundaries, and feelings more clearly, and taking responsibility for one's actions and patterns. So I will say just something simple. Since we moved here to Houston, I have had to experience growth in a lot of ways.
Oh, we both
So I've
have.
had to learn to grow into being who I am
Hmm.
as a mom without having the physical closeness or the
Or
location
the presence.
side. Yes, the
Yeah,
presence of having the kids here
right.
or even being able to get here in 5 to 10, 15 minutes. So I have had to learn to grow up in the sense that I can parent from a distance
Yeah,
and still be as important of a part and a vital position and part of their life without being physically near them.
yeah.
Hasn't been easy either, but we have learned very, very various ways to communicate, have fun, and I don't feel like I'm missing anything in their lives. And
Right.
I think that it really took maturity on all of our parts,
Absolutely.
specifically theirs, because they've never been without me. So they've always been in the world with me, but I've been able to, because I'm older than them, of
Right.
course, I know what it's like not to have them.
Right.
So it's been a little growth process there. I had to grow up and learn that I'm still mommy, not being there physically, and I can be mommy without being there physically.
Right.
And I remind them all the time that I am just an hour and 45-minute plane ride from home.
Yeah.
So personally, that is one of the probably over the last year one of the ways that I've had to learn and grow.
And I think, when you speak about that particular, the situation of, the relocation for us and everything. I mean, I believe that the beginning of the process of growth was when we first actually started discussing it, and when we actually decided that we were going to do it. When the decision was made, that's when I believe that things changed. Things began to change once the opportunity had presented itself. But when we said, yes, this is what we're going to do, this is the route that we're going to take, this is where we're going to go. And, of course, we gave the option, to our children, hey, do you guys want to come? Do you not want to come? And, them being who they are, no, we just want to stay here.
They have their own lives.
They have their own lives. And I think what that did is, talking about growth, for them, especially with, Joe, our oldest, and Jaden, them stepping into young adulthood, and Bud, kind of on his way in his late teens, that gave them an opportunity to really be able to learn how to spread their own wings and become their own person, and hey, this, we're going to get these jobs, and we're gonna get us a place, and we're gonna, do what we want to do. We furnish it how we want to furnish, and everything else. And so that to me was gratifying that they would take the chance. And sometimes with growth, and I know this is going to sound crazy, sometimes forced growth is a necessary thing.
I would have to agree.
It's a necessary
And you
thing.
don't even realize it in the moment, that you just feel like you feel the forced side of things.
Yes.
You don't see the growing pains of it, and for it's working out for you good,
Right.
for lack of better terms.
Which is,
So I
yeah.
think that forced growth sometimes puts us in a position to grow in ways that we wouldn't have otherwise.
Right. And I would totally second that. And I was actually going to say that you hit the nail right on the head. That, sometimes, I mean, growth just in general, growth is painful. Being able to have the mindset that you're not going to allow yourself to stay in a comfortable place, because the comfortable place is the place where everything just seems to run smooth. It takes you some pain to get there, but then once you get there and you've mastered that area, and our pastor was talking about that today, when you master, a certain rate of growth or a place that you are in your life, what can easily happen is that you can literally put your life on autopilot. This is what I do. This is how I do it.
Right,
This is where I am. This is how it's always been. And I'm good here. I know how to work, whatever imbalances may come on, whatever problems may happen. I know how to deal with all of them because here I'm good. This is home for me, but true growth and true getting to know, of yourself, and true growth in relationships, whatever that ship may be, is that you have to be able to understand and embrace the uncomfortability of it, because in order for it to be anything, it's going to be uncomfortable. It's going to happen.
You said a mouthful. You said a mouthful. So, relational growth. Relational growth includes deeper trust built through consistency and honesty, improved conflict resolution, where disagreements are handled with respect, not avoidance or aggression, and greater emotional intimacy and vulnerability. So, in relationships, how do you how do you see growth? How do you manage growth? How do you deal with it?
Wow. um I think in relationships, how I see it is that it is a necessary component for you to be able to get to a place. If you are truly a person that has a goal with whomever it is that you're dealing with, you have to be able to allow yourself to get to a place where you I mean, you really stretch for it. And I don't want to beat the uncomfortable horse. I don't want to beat that down. But even in terms of us and where we had to go and the things that we had to do, it was a lot of uncomfortable days and a lot of uncomfortable nights in order for us to get to where we are. And by no means, I tell anybody, hey, we're not goals. What works for us is what works for us. What works for anybody else is what works for anybody else. Now,
And it took something to get here.
yeah, and I do believe that we can offer some sound advice. Now, I'm not going to discount, the things that we've been through and the things that we've had to go through, because I believe that much of what we garnered in order to get to a place and a space where we are now is that came through a lot of prayer, that came through a lot of conversation and communication. And so, um, in my mind, that's just the thought of what growth is. Now, how to get there again? Prayer, communication, um, an openness, and a willing heart to be able to take constructive criticism.
So let's go there. So I will say that we're really good. I'm really good about saying or asking you out of the blue, and of course you are always like, "Oh God, here she go,"
Right.
because that's what I get, y'all.
Yeah.
But I am very adamant at this phase of life
Yeah.
in asking the questions of, is there anything that you don't like? Is there
Yeah.
any areas that I need to mature in, that I need to be better at, that I need, what is it that I'm, back to that same question, what can I do for you? But
Yeah.
I think it's important that sometimes before growth, or that we are at least in tune that things are going to change, things are going to shift, people are going to grow at different rates, and our needs don't stay the same
Right.
in relationship. And that's not just personal relationships, that's friendships.
That's
And
true.
I think a lot of people, specifically in friendships, get it twisted that things are not going to shift and things are going to change. Change is not always bad.
No.
People grow at different rates.
Yes.
And what worked for me at 18 is not going to work for the 49-year-old. At least I'm hoping what worked for you at 18
Right.
is not still,
Well,
you know, what works for
yikes.
you, what works for you now. But I think we have to be honest in all of our relationships and mature enough to recognize that change happens.
Yes. It's
Change
inevitable.
happens.
It's
And
inevitable.
so I always try to beat the shift
Mhm.
and say, how are you feeling in your life? How are you feeling in what's going on with you? How are we in our relationship? What
Right.
needs to change for the better?
Right.
What makes you uncomfortable or what makes you unhappy? And I think if we can be forthcoming
Yeah.
about those things, then it helps the shift not be as surprising.
True.
I think it helps with fallouts, potential fallouts, because what I may have needed 2 years ago may not be what I need now going through perimenopause, which is a whole nother ballgame. Let's just keep it real.
Man,
Whole,
listen.
it's a whole nother ballgame.
Man.
So what I was 4 years ago and my
Yo.
needs is totally different than
Right.
what my needs are now. Now I need the ceiling fan. Now I might need the big blanket or a little blanket or a heater or a fan. It just depends.
Right.
So needs change. But I think that being open about change is going to happen. Being willing to acknowledge that I'm not who I used to be,
Mhm.
or that I'm stuck. And can you help me?
Yeah.
Because I don't know why I feel like I feel. One of the things that I always start out in consultation with my coaching clients is always, where are you? Why are you there? And why do you feel you can't move?
Yeah.
And it makes
Three
them
pertinent
think
questions.
about their life.
Three very
It
pertinent
makes
questions.
them think, because otherwise you can't tell me how you want me to help you.
Right.
And so if you can't tell me where you are or where we are in a relationship or what I need for you or why I feel like we're stuck, then there's something deeper that needs to be addressed, which is a whole nother topic for another day. But I think that we have to mature
Mhm.
enough, at least to a level where we realize in every relationship, even in how I parent my children, there's a change.
Yeah.
I can't parent them now how I parented them at 2 and 3.
No. Absolutely not.
We have to shift. And some of that change was very hurtful. I would go to Norse and be like, well, they don't want me to do this. Or they told me it's my turn. Why? Because they don't want me to talk at them like I used to in
Right.
their teenage years. They are now adults. They want me to talk
To
to
them.
them and with them.
Yeah.
I didn't know I was talking at them,
Yeah. Well, and
but I had to learn that.
but I think, even in that, and we got some comments that we're going to go to here in a second. But I think even in that, you made a very valid point that when you're dealing with people, whether they're your children, whether they're your spouse, whether they're a coworker, whether they're, somebody that, has been a friend to you for a long time, or even just, a simple acquaintance, the way that you talk, how you approach, and how you deal with them, those things have to change, over time. I can remember the conversations, hey, when, the kids don't want this and they don't want me to do, and I'm just like, babe, hey, at the end of the day, they're getting older. You know what I mean? And so, just like any other adult, or someone coming into adulthood, you know, not in a disrespectful way, but people just don't want you to talk to them the way that you used to talk to them.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
They want you to show some type of a level of respect. And it's not that you didn't respect them. you know what I mean,
Mhm.
in their teenage years. But as they get older and their minds begin to, really, start to formulate, into adult, hood and adult thoughts and adult thinking, hey, yeah, I mean, you used to, and I'm not saying this, but I'm just saying as an example, you might have been one of them parents that, used to go off and yell at your child and cuss them out. But, as they got
I get the
older,
yelling part, the
as they
cussing,
yeah, as
not
they
so
done got
much.
older, no, we ain't getting ready. I'm not gonna take that no more. You know what I mean? And it's not a disrespectful thing, but they've just come to a place in their minds where, hey, I'm an
And
adult
you know, you
too.
said a lot because when you were talking about the way you say things or how you do, because what I've learned, the older I've gotten and the more that I've matured, I've learned that when certain things I won't allow anymore,
Hmm.
with regard to growth and respect and vulnerability. And so there are boundaries that
Key
are in
word.
place.
Yes.
There are boundaries that are in place
Yes.
because of where I've grown,
Yeah.
because of where I'm at, and a lot of because of where I'm trying to get to.
Yes.
And where I'm trying to get to just will not allow me to stay where I used to be.
Right.
And saying all that to say that boundaries are sometimes necessary. When you're
Yeah.
growing, you have to assess your environment. When you're growing, you have to assess the culture. And sometimes the current culture, climate, or the environment is just not going to nurture the growth that is either needed or that is necessary for the change that you're trying to make.
Yeah. So I mean, in other words, the soil that you used to have is not fit to be able to produce what it is that you're trying to
Yeah,
produce now. It's
yeah.
just like, anybody that has any type of a green thumb understands. Yeah, you might use potting soil for a while, and that works, but in order for that plant to grow and to
We're
flourish,
going
it
back to
may
the
take
story from
root,
the first
but you have to
place.
shake all of that extra dirt off of the roots that has already taken root in the old soil. Get that stuff, dump that out, and get fresh soil so that it can grow even the more.
And sometimes you need a new pot.
And sometimes you need a new pot because you've outgrown what that space.
Yeah.
And so that's how that goes. So let's get to some of these comments. So Denise Daniel says, my growth is letting go of my daughter when she got married, to trust my son in love with her. She's all I had for 38 years. Now I have to remind myself that she has a husband and he will be her go-to
Yeah.
first now instead of me.
Ooh, that's tough, Denise.
Wow. 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 Wow.
That's tough. It's so funny that you say that because I can remember in my first marriage, I had to learn the tough lesson that my mama couldn't be my go to. And that was one of the areas in which,
Hmm.
in hindsight, looking at that relationship, I needed to grow because I was married and had a husband, but my mama was my first call all the time. And so I totally understand from the flip side of the perspective exactly how you feel.
Yeah,
And it's hard, but you can do it, especially when you have a young man that honors, loves, and you trust your daughter with you.
absolutely. So Angel Coleman, in her comments, she says, I think it also goes to show what an empowering and supportive environment you've created where they had the confidence and initiative to know that they can stand on their own feet. And I'm sure I'm talking
Oh
about
yeah.
the
Oh
kids.
yeah. One of the points, as far as growth was for mutual support and commitment is encouraging each other's goals and well-being,
Yeah,
practicing empathy, forgiveness, and grace, and choosing the relationship intentionally, even during difficult seasons.
yeah,
And so sometimes, we go through those difficult seasons, and you just have to remember that things change.
yeah,
If you're alive, something's going to change. And hopefully, the change is helping you evolve.
yeah. Especially in relationships and in marriage. And I'm not going, we'll touch on that. We're just touching on all of the shifts, but in marital relationships, I just want to just throw that out there. Spouses, give your spouse grace because, like my wife was saying, the same thing that she might have wanted from me 2 years ago very well may change now. You know what I'm saying? Maybe,
I'm
you
sure it
know, she
has.
wanted more, and I'm just using this as an example. 2 years ago, maybe she wanted more physical contact. So, you know, she wanted me to touch her more. She wanted, you know, more, you know, displays of affection and things like that. But now, in the perimenopause stage,
I'm gonna need you to scoot over
because
because
she's hot, she's
you
burning
hot, I'm
up.
hot. Now
My,
we
my
both
yeah,
sweating,
my body heat, her body
and
heat.
that ain't gonna
It,
work,
it
y'all.
it ain't a good thing. And so, hey, it's not that I don't want you to touch me, but at this phase right now,
Let me
nah,
cool
bro.
off. Let me get that
Look,
fan.
yeah, let the ceiling fan do what it's gonna do. You know, I'll catch you, you know, at about 3 o'clock in the morning when I done cooled off, and you know, then we can kind of snuggle or do whatever. But you know, until then, bro, I'm burning up. You know what I mean? And I need you to back just a little bit. You know what I mean? Because this is what I got going on. And so, you know, I think a lot of times when it comes to spouses, and these, I've gotten this from, you know, people that have been married, you know, 20 something, 30 something, 40 something, 50 something years. You know, that was one of the things that was given to me, you know, in terms of advice and, you know, trying to, you know, have a long standing marriage. Give your spouse grace because they're going to change over time and the needs are going to change. And you're going to have to be able to learn how to adapt to those changes. And they're going to have to be able to learn how to adapt to you because you're going to change as well. If you are still the same person that you are at this big old age that you were at 25, something is wrong. Something's wrong because there should be something innately in you that triggers, you know what, I don't want to be in this space anymore. This was good for here. This was good for 25, but I'm 35 now. That's not working.
Well, and even in the professional setting, where just showing up to work, getting a check, doing what you wanted to do, or taking care of your family, being a provider for that moment, for that place in time was important. But now at almost 50, I'm looking at retirement.
Yeah.
So I need to figure out what hustle I'm going to get to
Yeah.
do what I'm already doing, hustle over here and stash as much as possible because that little pension, 401k, whatever, it might not cover the lifestyle that I want to live in retirement
Right.
or even the lifestyle that I'm living now. And so I just think that the mindset of where we are and who we are changes over time.
Yeah.
And we have to prepare our hearts and minds that it not only happens in relationships, spousal relationships. It
Right.
not only happens in marriages, this happens in your friendships.
Absolutely.
It happens in
Absolutely.
your friendships. You have to mature because I remember, when I moved here and having to leave the people I knew that I've known and
Your
rocked with all
circle.
my life
Your circle.
and come to
Your
Houston,
front row.
and it was totally different
Yeah.
because they weren't here. I couldn't just call and say, hey, we doing this or hey, we doing that. I had nobody call and go do nothing with. I didn't have anybody to do any of that with. And not so much
Outside
that
of
we
me.
were dependent on each other, but that was my norm.
Right.
And when your norm changes, it requires you to grow. So I had to go through this whole phase of making new friends at almost 50. And that was different.
Right.
That was a whole growth process in itself because I had to learn some things about Lisa, learn some things about my friend group that
Mm-hmm.
I can't have the same expectations of new people that I meet that I have
Yeah,
with
with people that
people
you've
that I've
been
known
rocking
all
with
my life.
30, 40
I'm more
years. Yeah.
careful about the friendships that I choose now than I might have been,
Right.
long time ago. And so I think that it's just life is an evolving, ever changing, and an evolving thing where something is always growing, something is always blooming.
And you mentioned something that just kind of triggered a thought in my mind. You know, at not even at just this age, but just throughout your walk of life, I wish I would have had a lot of the information that I have now when I was in my early
If I
20s.
would have known
If I
now what I knew
knew then
then,
what I know
yes,
now,
yes.
but learning how to categorize people is
Oh,
vital.
yeah.
Is vital. And I look, if you haven't told your children tell them. Your grandchildren, tell them. If they're of age to be able to have these, conversations like this, tell them. Learn how to categorize people, because a lot of times we put unnecessary, imbalances and unnecessary pain and unnecessary hurt on ourselves because we don't vet people and we don't put them in the category that they should be in. And sometimes we allow what was only supposed to be, an assignment to become a public or a permanent fixture, not a public fixture, but a permanent fixture.
Yeah.
Learn how to understand permanency and assignments.
And with maturity, I've learned to place people where they belong. And that has required some boundaries. It's required some uncomfortableness. It has required me to, for lack of better terms, not associate, disconnect, cut off people, people that I've known for long periods of time. But I've realized that even at 49, everybody can't go with you where you're trying to go.
Right.
Everybody don't want to go where you're going, first of all. So let's just throw that out there. Everybody don't want to go where you're going. Everybody's not allowed to go, and they're not purposed to go with you. Not necessarily a bad thing, but there are seasons in your life where you have to weed people out.
Yeah, absolutely.
You have to weed them out because people will keep you stagnant, and there are people that want you to stay where you've always been.
Right.
And if you stay where you've always been, you'll never allow yourself the opportunity to grow.
Yeah, you'll never get to where you're trying to go. I want to read a few more comments because we've had quite a few, but the dialogue has been great. This is from Bread Corn. This is Corn, my cousin, y'all. You all cultivated, I'll show it again. You all cultivated the environment for them to grow. We're talking about our kids again, and what you have taught them was independence with or without your presence, which that right there is that's major. And I do mean major.
Oh yeah.
That is a
And that's
major
what we're
thing.
supposed to do as parents.
Yeah.
But oh, it's easier said than done.
And so that's a great one. Let's continue on. Letitia, she says love. So I'm guessing she's loving the conversation. Thank you, Letitia. Denise Daniel says, you also have to trust what you taught them when they were younger. And we're talking about our children and our grandchildren.
Yeah.
Mama Alice Fields Haynes. She says, Norris Lisa, thanks. I'm smiling a little more. You know my story, and we do. And
there is growth.
There is growth.
Mama Alice, there is growth, and I'm so happy for you. I'm so proud of you.
Absolutely. We
so
both
proud
are.
of you because not telling her story, but in talking about growth, we have to allow ourselves grace and allow ourselves enough love for ourselves to be willing to step out on faith sometimes and do something different.
Right. Cornelius also says financial stability is a fundamental component for their independence. But if we have to be financially responsible for them, then we feel as though we have more of a say in the process or progress.
And you know what?
Wow.
You know what?
You said something there, Brad.
You said a whole mouthful, because let me tell you, one thing I will say, and I'm very proud to say, we talk about it all the time.
Their work ethic is
out
crazy.
Of the three of our children, out of three, all three are heavily financially.
They want that money.
Independent.
They want that money.
They all work. Well, the girls work 2 jobs. The son is just a hustler. He gonna work 4, 5 jobs.
Bud is a Jamaican.
He's gonna go get it.
He got 3 jobs.
But I will say, as spoiled as they were, and I spoiled them to a fault in some areas, they all have great financial responsibility.
Yeah.
They if they call and ask us for something, we know it's a serious matter.
Absolutely.
It is a serious matter.
So Denise says it's hard because we don't want them to fail or anything to harm them. And that's the truth.
Yeah.
I think, any parent worth their salt, they want to make sure that their children don't have to deal with a lot of the things that they dealt with. They don't want to have them to have to struggle, in ways that they have struggled, and that's just any parent wanting their children to be,
And
to be different.
that even boundaries are even there.
Yeah.
With I have to have boundaries because the girls have their own apartment and their own place.
Yeah.
So when I fly in town on business and I'm like, I'm going to stay at y'all house, it's like, oh, did she ask us or she telling us? So I have to get myself together real quick and be like, can I stay at y'all's house?
Can you please turn off the lights?
There?
Can you turn the lights off?
You left a light on.
After y'all done ran up our bills for years, girl.
You left this on. Did you drink my pop, mama? You kidding me?
Crazy work. I'm telling you, man.
I have to look back at it as if they are adults.
Yes.
This is their space.
Yeah.
I have to respect their space when I'm in it.
They know what they can do financially. What they're they know their limits. They know how things work for them. Even in that regard. And those are things that you
I have to ask. Can I take the dog out?
You want to think about it.
The dog is on the schedule. Yeah. But again, it is respect. It's mutual respect.
Right.
It's having boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
And it is allowing them the opportunity to be adults.
Right.
Even though I'm their mom, I have to allow that opportunity for them to be adults and for them to grow and learn what works for them. And I love it, actually. I love it. I hope y'all seeing that. I really do love it. I am very proud of them. Oh. They've done an amazing job.
Little sister told me to watch it.
What's she talking about?
I don't know. I'm gonna let you have it, Margaret. No, I'm gonna let you have it, Maggie. Angel Coleman says you are very easy to love, Miss Lisa, and you're a great friend.
Thank you, Angel.
That's a blessing.
I try.
That's a blessing. Cameo says very true, very true. And we hope that these things that we're talking about, they resonate with you all, because we're no different than anybody else. We all go through our trials. We all go through our tribulations. We go through, the ups and downs of relationships, friendships, work relationships, parenting, co-parenting, all of that old stuff.
The most important thing is communication.
Yes.
I think if you don't take anything away from the conversation tonight, I think it should be communication and having enough respect for others to know that they're going to change, because change is a part of life. Respecting the fact that they change. And for me, I know at least for me, being proud of them for the changes that they are making.
Yeah.
Being proud and encouraging them to, hey, if you're going back to school, girl, I'm proud of you. Go get that degree.
Yeah.
Go get that new car. Go buy that house.
Yeah.
Whatever it is. I always want to be that friend that encourages it. I may not like it all the time. I'm so used to, I'll just use, since Margaret's on the podcast, I'll just use her for an example. I'm used to talking to Margaret all day, every day. Now, I have a husband, so I had to cut some of it out, just depending on schedules. But now, when Margaret get a husband, because my sister gonna get a husband, she gonna get a husband. When she get a husband, what I'm gonna do?
I'm praying for you, sis.
Now, as much as I'm gonna be happy for her, then there we go. That's another change.
I am, though, for real.
That's an example of a great change.
Right.
That's my friend, and I'm used to having access to her all the time. She's had to adjust to me getting married after so many years of having all the access she wanted. She's had to adjust to that, but now how am I going to adjust when she gets married?
Right.
Because
it happens.
It happens. I had to adjust when I moved here. Margaret, where you at? Who you with? Felt some kind of way. But I had to check myself. That's a part of growing. And we have to be proud of each other as we go through the growth process. That's also a part of that type of thing, is talking it out.
Right.
Because I told her about herself. I feel some type of way. Because you out and about having a good time and I'm not there with you. But that was a part of the move.
Right.
That is a part of my growth journey. And that doesn't make us any less friends. Right. I have friends that I don't talk to every day. I don't even talk to them once a week. But if I call Vernita and say, hey, I got a crisis,
Right.
she's on the first thing smoking.
I can agree with that.
You know what I'm saying? So I think we just have to learn to respectfully allow people to grow, allow people to change, and give them the autonomy and the space to do what works for them and not impose our expectations on them.
Yeah.
Because
Don't.
what looks like growth to me is not going to look like it to you.
Well, you, and this is going to sound bad when I say it, but I don't mean it in a bad way. And hopefully I can clear it up. But don't expect you from everybody else.
So true, and that's a lesson I
How
learned.
how you may respond, how you may act, how you may do something, or the person that you are, how you are toward other people. Some people just don't necessarily have the capacity to be that. And it doesn't necessarily mean that they're bad people, but sometimes you can set yourself up for with an unrealistic expectation, and you
Expectation.
hurt yourself thinking that somebody is going to be like you, or they're going to respond how you would respond to them, or they're going to talk to you how you would talk to them, and communicate with you how you would communicate with them. People are different. And so just because you may do a thing doesn't necessarily mean that that person has to do what you would do. And it doesn't mean that they're a bad person necessarily either. They just may be at the cusp of their ability, to communicate or whatever it is. You know what I mean? And you have to be okay with that. Learning that just because I act this way, but I do this thing, these things that I, move in a certain type of way, doesn't necessarily mean, that that person is going to move that way. And you know what? I'm okay with that because that's who they are. And
Yeah.
I'm good. I can be okay with that.
And you can be okay and not, you don't have to like it, you don't have to understand it, and it could make you feel some type of way, but you can be okay with that
Yeah.
because it's been communicated,
Right.
right?
Right.
So while he looks up some comments, I'm going to give you some statistics here. So poor communication is cited as a factor in about 65 to 67% of failed relationships and divorces.
I can believe that.
In a survey of adults in relationships, more than 70% said meaningful communication was their top concern. Only 13% said that they feel completely comfortable expressing emotional needs. Growing apart, personal goals, and emotional distance, about 40% of divorces occur when partners grow apart or pursue different life goals. 75% of therapists report evolving personal values as a leading cause of divorce, and around 50% of divorced individuals cite a loss of self in the marriage.
Now I can speak to, and I'm gonna keep it brief, but I can speak to the growing apart in the spiritual sense, and that being a huge portion of the demise of a former relationship,
Mhm.
where I was with somebody, and that person I felt was leaps and bounds ahead of me spiritually. But when I decided, okay, you know what, I'm really going to hunker down, I'm really going to see what this thing is about, and I started putting into practice things that really started to grow me and develop me, spiritually, in terms of prayer life, gifts, my study habits, different things like that. That caused a big huge rift, and you wouldn't think that something like that would cause a rift, but it
Because it was
did.
okay when they were, quote unquote, the elevated person, spiritual
Right.
person, when they were on the elevated
Right.
level.
And so,
When you
even in
caught
that,
up, they were uncomfortable.
and even in that, I don't think anybody should stifle their growth. If they really want to grow, and they really want to develop, whether it's a spiritual thing, physical, if you want to get more healthy, whatever that is, the emotional, if you want to heal, different things
Whatever
like
your
that.
growth
I
opportunity
don't
is,
think anybody should stop you. If that's something that you want to do and it's for the betterment of yourself, I say do it
make it
with
happen.
everything that's in you. do it with everything that's in you. And, if you end up surpassing or whatever, a person's expectations, that's on them. Either they can,
Growth is internal.
be cool with it or catch up.
It's an internal
Whatever
thing.
you got to do.
Yeah, it's an internal thing.
You know, yeah, we have a comment from Latanya. She says, Lisa, I've watched you grow from a little girl to an amazing woman and mother. Trust, you made the right decision on moving and faith that growing is necessary.
Woo! All right, big sis. Shout out to Tanya. She's another one, by the way, y'all. If I call her, she coming.
We're gonna shout out Tanya. Yeah, that's big sis. Yeah. Well, kinda.
Yeah.
As
long as you stay good.
I'm good. I ain't worried about it. I'm all right as far as I'm concerned.
But yeah, y'all, I just think that where growth goes bad is when a person grows and there is no respect for the growth. And as Tanya said, it is not seen as being necessary.
Right.
It is not seen being necessary. And you guys would be appalled at the number of people that we encounter or talk to where they are afraid of growing because they're afraid of what somebody else is going to think of them.
Or say.
They're afraid of what someone is going to say about their growth. They're afraid to step out because they're going to be uncomfortable.
Right.
And not uncomfortable necessarily within themselves, but uncomfortable because of somebody else. Y'all, we got to do a better job at encouraging people to grow, encouraging people to step out of their comfort zone, encouraging them even when what looks like growth, and it might look like it fails, y'all. A failed opportunity is never a miss. It's just another opportunity to try again.
Right. And in growing, you are going. Let's be honest. You're going to fail sometime.
Everything's not going to work the first time.
Right. You're going to fail some, but that is like she said, that is a natural part of the growth process. Yeah. Learning how to be able to fail.
Trial and error.
And when you do fail, not being stagnant and allowing yourself to just lay there. You get up. Okay, well, what did I do? Where did I, possibly miss the mark? You know what I mean? And you implement new things and you put in new practices.
And when you see somebody is struggling, be that person to encourage them.
Yeah.
Be that person to say, okay, how can I help you? Where are we missing? Where are we missing the goal at? And how can I help you get there?
Yeah.
Instead of, oh, they over there doing this. Let me go see if I can one up. Come on, y'all.
And if they do something that
we not one upping each other.
Yeah. If they do something that's bad and that causes them to fail, you know what I mean? But they truly have a sincere heart of repentance for whatever it is that they did. Love, man. Just,
grace.
Give them grace.
Grace.
That Bible talks about that, that if you have a person that's overtaken in a fault, you are the ones. You restore that person in a spirit of meekness, considering yourself.
Yeah. Because we all want grace. So if we want grace, we got to be willing to give it.
Got to be willing to give it.
Yeah.
Got to be willing to give it. Cameo's made a comment, really 2 words, but I think it was a great respecting individuality.
That is major.
You got to respect it.
That is major. You have to respect that at any relationship, whoever you're engaging with, you are 2 different, 3 different, 20 different, whatever. Everybody is different.
Yeah.
Everybody is different, and the mindset you have changes over time based off of age, trials and tribulations, things that traumas. We have to consider all those things. There is a necessity to change depending upon where you are in life and what you've gone through.
Angel Coleman says there are no failures, just learning and lessons. The only time one truly fails is when they don't try at all. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
What you got?
Oh, the data suggests that mismatched growth, whether emotional, professional, or values-based, often shows up statistically as growing apart and divergent goals, the larger factor in long-term relationship endings, emotional disconnection, and communication barriers, especially around deeper issues like values, aspirational, and personal evolution.
Wow.
Yeah.
Good stuff, man.
Research shows that personal self growth, self expansion that happens outside the relationship, even if positive for the individual, can reduce romantic passion and feelings of closeness if not shared with a partner. This means when you
Wow.
grow personally without your partner, without your friend, it can lead to emotional distance over time because people are uncomfortable when those around them change.
I'm gonna need you to get out with the get down because who wants to stay in the same place? I'm sorry.
Okay?
You know what I mean? But I
The
do.
statistics
But
are here.
again, I understand that. I understand it. I lived it, and it is a true
But
fact.
Norris, I don't know that people don't necessarily. Yeah, okay, I'll take that back. Some people just don't want to change. They happy where they are, be it miserable, happy, whatever.
Yeah, they
They
good.
don't want to change. But for those of us that do want to change, that for those of us that do want to evolve, that do want to be better, that do want more, if they see that sometimes there's individuals that don't like it because it makes them uncomfortable.
Right.
And what I've learned is that's on them.
Yeah.
That's not my problem. My goal is to satisfy the fulfillment of my life
Right.
and what my purpose is and the aspirations that I have and the relationships that I want to nurture and
Mhm.
grow and those kinds of things. So if I have anybody listening and paying attention tonight, do not be afraid of being uncomfortable and not changing because of the thoughts, the hearts, and the minds of somebody else. Step out there by yourself.
Man.
Trust me, it's better on the other side. Don't live in regret. And when you don't choose to change, when it's time and you wear out
Mhm.
your season, trust me, you don't want to wear a season out.
No.
Allow that season to change.
And with that said, hey, I don't think nothing else needs to be said.
Mm-mm.
You know,
Change is good.
change is
Change
good.
is good. Growing is good.
Yes.
Growing is good. Every day we wake up, we're growing. If we're not, we need to do some evaluations.
Evaluate and do a lot of self reflection. You know, there's nothing wrong with that. Self reflection, I believe, that's the beginning, of you being able to, figure out where you need to make the necessary, changes, and then, you push forward, into making
Absolutely.
said changes. And so, with that being said, we want to thank you guys again for joining us and,
On the
listen,
His
yeah,
Voice, Her Vibe podcast.
listening to us talk and we love you guys' dialogue as always. And so, every second and fourth Sunday at 7 p.m., you will find us here on Facebook Live and on YouTube.
March 8th
Yeah.
will be our
So,
next episode.
March 8th, we're looking forward to meeting with you all and talking with you all. And, you know, we pray that you guys have a great week.
Yes, and it's almost over, y'all.
Yeah.
Happy Black History Month.
Happy Black History Month. And I'm black, y'all. And I'm black, y'all.
That we're not gonna do.
Shoot. Don't do
But
me.
shout out to y'all. Thanks for
Yeah.
joining us. We appreciate y'all. We love all you. Have a wonderful night.